little bit about what we did in the past year and what we have in store for this coming year. And really, it's just going to be a very simple presentation. And also, we're going to have some time afterwards for some Q&A. And we'll also have some time to mingle afterwards and eat some food. We have some other food coming in as well. So yeah, so stay and enjoy the time.
Yeah, we got some Baba Ken's barbecue coming here for lunch.
Yes.
Sorry for the vegans.
Yeah, we will. I'll run outside and get a bowl of arugula for you.
We'll give you some cake. But I just want to say that this is meant to be, because I know a lot of you guys we've met through volunteering, and some of you have been with us in the beginning, and some of you guys haven't pretty new. So we kind of just wanted to kind of show everybody this community what we're about. And this is not meant for just us talking. This is going to be a dialogue moving forward for this whole event, so that we can really get to know each other. And you guys can kind of get to know our DNA and what we're really about and why we kind of started this thing. So
for sure. Well, for those of you guys who don't know, my name is Andrew. This is James, with the co-founders of Collectiv, and very pleased to have you guys join us today. All right, so Collectiv, our agenda today, as we'll talk about core, kind of like our story, our mission, some of the team members, some of the people that showed us some love, our ministries, our campaigns, where our focus is for 2022, some of the marketing aspects of things, and where the money goes. So we want to be very transparent with everybody on exactly where every single cent goes. All right, so our story. For those of you guys who don't know how it started, 2017, we went on a business trip to Hungary. And at that time, a lot of people came to us and they were like, hey, we want to be able to serve the locals in Taiwan instead of always going outside. And we felt like there was that need too. And we were like, well, you know what? At that moment, we were in a mode of just wanting to take action instead of always just talking about it. So we were like, you know what? Let's get a couple of friends and let's just go out. We found a soup kitchen, and that's how it started. And more people started hitting us up. And we started a line group we called the Soup Kitchen Squad. And then organically it just started to grow, and more people started coming through. So we decided to create Salt Collectiv, and we wanted to really bring the community together and teach everybody how to take that first step.
One thing I want to add to that is that one common thing that we found as kind of like foreigners or ABCs coming back to Taiwan was that a lot of the local charities are just kind of lack of communication sometimes. And having so many friends, like a lot of you guys are here, who even tried to reach out and try to get involved in some of the local organizations. And sometimes for one reason or not, whether it's communication, there's a culture barrier where they're kind of like, all right, who are you? All right, what are your intentions? So some of those organizations are not as open. So one of our goals is to actually kind of be that bridge so that we have these opportunities. So what we do is we really build a lot of these relationships and trust with these organizations, like the orphanages, the soup kitchens, so that for you guys can just hop on the platform and just get to serve. Because at the end of the day, that's what people want to do, is give back to the community. And we just kind of make it easy. And that's one of our original intentions why we created Salt Collectiv.
Absolutely. So our mission, really, I'm just going to read it out. Salt Collectiv is a diverse community of volunteers uniting for the purpose of making a lasting imprint for the marginalized. Just as salt is used to add flavor and preserve, our actions can be the seasoning and support for the forgotten. It all starts with a small step to make a difference and be the salt of the earth. As James was mentioning, a lot of times we started from an expat kind of church community, so a lot of people were all English speakers, and a lot of times we went to these organizations, and there's a Chinese term called 帮倒忙, which you're actually going out to help out, but then in the end is actually making things kind of worse, because they're figuring out how to communicate and all that kind of stuff. So what we believed in is that we want to have that community of diverse people. You can be English speakers, you can be Chinese speakers, you can be from all different kinds of backgrounds for us just to come together and serve a single purpose of just making Taiwan, this world, a better place. So that's why lasting imprint is a key aspect of us. We don't just go out and actually just serve a particular purpose. We want to make sure that there's an imprint, there's a change that we can invoke. All right, so that's our mission.
And then for the part that we mentioned, the marginalized, one thing I want to note is that what we do, we really are trying to literally hit all four corners of this country and try to touch the lives of people that have a real need. And that's why we work with the orphanages, and for the Giving Tree, we're working with hospitals, for terminally ill kids and that kind of stuff. So all the stuff that we do, our whole goal and mission statement is towards helping the people that have a real need, here in the society.
Absolutely. Cool. All righty. Love me. There we go. Meet the fam. So, our team.
So instead of me going and introducing everyone, I'm actually going to have everyone introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with Bertina. Where's Bertina? Take a picture of this snacks.
Hi, I'm Bertina. I'm the newbie here. I joined middle of last year, basically just from showing up to volunteer events and ended up getting more involved. So I'm handling the social media, Facebook and Instagram, and community coordinator is my official title, and so just working with volunteers and building partnerships. Is that it?
Yep, thanks for teasing out.
So if you want your picture to be featured on Instagram, hit her up.
And then we got Edwin.
Mr. Edwin Gerard.
I'm Edwin. I started with Salt from the very beginning. Through these two buddies, we went to check out the soup kitchen and kind of didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, but kind of just doing our best to give back a little bit. And the reason why I'm so keen on kind of participating and trying to give back is because I grew up with a sister with special needs, and she's severely autistic, so she'll never be able to take care of herself. So it always hits close to home for me. So whenever there's an opportunity to kind of, whatever, like whether it's just a little thing we give back or a lot, maybe I think lasting imprint is the thing that we should be striving for, but sometimes it's kind of tough to understand what the hell that means. So hopefully I could, through being an advocacy coordinator, create more bridges between us and different organizations and try to make a better lasting change for everybody.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where's your salt shirt?
She just came from a wedding, so.
I'm not trying to like dress up like this. Yeah, I'm Lala. I started with James and Andrew like in 2017 after a mission trip to Hungary, and then we kind of feel like, why do we need to go so far away and then to reach out the community? Actually, the local places. There are a lot of needs, but we try to start it in very small, like doing soup kitchen with a group of friends, and then little by little we realize that there are more and more like people we don't know, and then start to join us. So I start to feel like we should like take it like more deeper, seriously. That's why, and we become like Salt Collectiv right now. And then my official title is outreach coordinator. It's actually doing a lot of things, and also the Chinese part. And if there are more like Chinese volunteers, like speaking Chinese, like volunteers interested, and I can also help with that, and also the local organizations, and then I can help with that. And also, if you have a lot of ideas, and then also can contact with us, and then we can make it like an event or a campaign to make it work. That's how probably my role in the team. Yeah, and then that's it.
Cool.
Morning, everyone. It's good to see you guys here. So I'm Sandy, and taking care of the programs. And how I first started with Soul is also, I think, in the States, in Los Angeles, was able to come volunteer and do some volunteer soup kitchen events. And so I think coming back to Taiwan, although I'm Taiwanese, but I still found that it's very hard to find some opportunities to do volunteer events. And I think going through Facebook, I found out about Salt, and I started joining the soup kitchen, and then just like how it all started. And I think it has been good to just be more involved and doing like kind of adding values to the marginalized here at my home country. So thank you so much all for volunteering, and also recently moved down to Tainan. So kind of like thanks the team for being flexible, kind of like doing some online more help, more with the admin, like translation. We do need more Chinese speakers as well. If you are interested to be involved more at the back of the behind the scene, like Chinese aspect, feel free to let Lala and myself know as well. So good to see you guys here.
Thank you.
辛苦了，辛苦了。
I started out doing mostly admin stuff, but now my focus is more towards events like Giving Tree and also like events like this, fundraisers. But really, I basically just do whatever needs a little free time. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks. All right, so that's the fam.
Yep.
See the love.
All
So, go ahead.
So this part, I just want to go ahead and, what we've been doing is, you know, we started with just a bunch of guys coming in and girls coming together to volunteer. And then the next thing you know is that we had businesses and corporations and other organizations that really kind of started wanting to support us. And so, like, for example, for the Giving Tree, you guys know we did 1,000 gifts last year. Now, at the actual Giving Tree event that most of you guys went to, we probably only posted around 300 gifts. So it's like, oh, where did the other 700 go? And that's actually where a lot of the businesses and the corporations and organizations came into support. So, you know, for a lot of the businesses, you guys know a lot of these brands here in Taiwan locally, they also wanted to participate in the Giving Tree and kind of give back. And a lot of them actually sponsor us on a regular basis. So like at the Giving Tree event last year, we had Tanny Fox, Taihu, Meraki, Jim and Dad, they all sponsored, and some of them actually had a small satellite Giving Tree at their business. So other people were able to go there, pick cards, and then return it to them. And so that was actually kind of our goal, is to increase the reach, because we know that we're limited in our reach. So with these businesses, we're able to actually cover up so much more ground. And for even some of these corporations, that's actually where some of the money stuff comes, because they said, hey, we really love what you guys are doing. How can we support? You know what, how about we just give you guys more money to keep doing what you're doing? And so, you know, this year we were actually able to reach some very, generous donations from some of these corporations. And, because we are an official, nonprofit here in Taiwan. And so in the organization part, these are the ones that are really kind of supporting us. So, like Pearl, Joanna's here, Pastor Bruce is here, Bread of Life, 101, and IFC. So what they did is they also started sponsoring the Giving Tree and other events that we have. So like, for example, our orphanage events. Some of them will be like, hey, why don't our organization cover, orphanage visits every 2-3 months? And for us, it's like, wow, this is great. And we want to keep spreading the love through these organizations. And so this is kind of our relationship with our community, how we're building our community, not just with you guys, the volunteers and people getting involved, but also the businesses, the corporations, and other organizations as well.
Yeah, the main thing I want to touch on is that a lot of these organizations that we work with, I mean, for example, in the bottom, you see a lot of like churches and whatnot, but then what we talk about is more so being that bridge, being that gap. We don't belong to a particular organization ourselves. We want to make sure that people of all faiths, all backgrounds, all religions can come together and really serve a common cause. That to us is most important than anything, especially some of the corporations and businesses. A lot of these guys, they just have a heart of wanting to do more for the community. And it's not about making SALT big. It's really about how to bridge these connections and how we can come together and work together and do something greater and bigger. If we just do it ourselves, I mean, we have a great team. We have a great amount of people that are supporting us. Just look at the people here today. But in the end, when we work with more of these businesses and corporations and organizations, imagine the impact that we can truly have beyond ourselves as an individual. So that's what makes SALT kind of cool as well.
And I want to share a little, extra little story is that one of the organizations that's not up here is actually a high school all the way out in like Taoyuan area. Called PAS, and it's so crazy because one of the girls literally just hit us up through social media and said, hey, we saw you guys on Facebook, we're just a bunch of kids, we have a community, we have a volunteer club at our high school, can we volunteer? And then they started showing up to the soup kitchen, and I was like, oh, it's 9 a.m. And they said, oh yeah, we took the train, it took about 2 hours to get here. I was like, whoa, you guys came from all the way out there, it took you 2 hours to get here. And not only did they stay, they actually finished everything and helped clean up, and all the way until like 1 p.m. And when everything finished, they came up to me and they said, hey, can we do this on a regular basis? And we said, absolutely. So that high school volunteer club actually started showing up literally every month, once a month, and at the soup kitchen that we work with. And so, this is the kind of movement that we wanted to start in the beginning. It's like, all right, just random people, whether you know us or you don't, whether it's word of mouth, you're just checking out, finding us on Google, Facebook, whatever, but knowing that we exist and how we can serve and how we can be used by you guys, you know, to be able to just come and hop on and volunteer. Like, that's really our goal. It's just like that.
Sure. All right, ministers, this is you.
Yeah. So this year, you know, obviously because of COVID, these were kind of our targeted dates, because we usually try to do soup kitchen once a month. For you guys that don't know, every month, usually the first Saturday of the month is our kind of soup kitchen day, where everybody shows up, just like this picture. And so this year we were not able to accomplish all of it because of COVID. So we went up until, you know, May. And for the orphanage, same thing. We usually try to do bi-monthly, so every 2 months we have an orphanage visitation with our partner orphanage, which is SOS. And so we were only able to do half of this year. But still, you know, 68 volunteers showed up and the reach is, you know, 496. So this is something that we really want to, you know, start getting ramped up again, because everything that we do literally kind of got stopped by COVID events-wise. So now we're kind of getting back in that gear and say, all right, now that things are opening up, let's get back into the stride. And the other events outside of our regular ministry stuff, we have the beach cleanups that we did this year. We did a ride and scoop, which a lot of you guys showed up. And then, you know, a lot of the car wash and, you know, events that we had, we also did, which unfortunately we're not able to, you know, do too many. But that, all those things are kind of getting back started. And that's one of the reasons we're also having, you know, this kind of orientation, is because now that things are lifted up, we can get started. And then a bunch of fundraisers. These are more like the fun stuff that we do that includes a giving tree. That's more of like a community building and / volunteer. And total volunteers is 144 for most of these events.
Absolutely. And for campaigns, so because like what James mentioned, due to COVID, a lot of our events, a lot of our ministries, unfortunately, were delayed. So in response to that, we decided to come up with some campaigns. We're like, you know what, even though we can't physically be present for a lot of these ministries, there's still something that we can do. We can bring people together, you know, come up with some ideas and go out and reach out. So in the beginning, before COVID, we actually did some pop-ups. Because at that time, suddenly some people were like, hey, you know what, it's super cold. I think it was January and February of last year. It was a lot colder than this year. I mean, right now it's not that cold, yeah. So we decided to bring socks. We decided to bring a bunch of resources and just go to Taipei, Maine and just do a pop-up. But what sprouted out of this was called the Don't Lock Down Your Love campaign. So during the lockdowns, we were like, you know what? Even though we're locked down, we shouldn't lock down our love. So we went ahead, did some fundraising, got care packages, got bentos for June, July, August, September, and November. So these are some of the organizations that we've been working with, KGG, Allegro, and some of the stuff that we've been doing ourselves. And Giving Tree Taiwan, obviously. This year we did 882 recipients. Something that's kind of cool I wanted to mention is that last year our goal was like, you know what, let's hit numbers. Let's try to hit 1,000. We were ambitious, and that was great. But then what we wanted to really focus on this year was more quality, I guess. What I mean by quality is that a lot of the organizations that we worked with were in Taipei, and sure, they do need help, but then they are more funded. And there's a lot of Aboriginal schools, orphanages down south that we really want to touch and reach because they get a lot less resources than, let's say, Taipei and Taipei City. So this year we're like, let's just go for that. Let's not aim for 1,000, but still, we actually hit 1,500. It's just that it was so out of our capacity. Unfortunately, we had to say no to a couple organizations, which we are targeting to work with this coming year. But we were still able to hit 882. So that was awesome. Thanks to a lot of you guys who participated and helped on that. And our reach, because of the Giving Tree, was 1,982 individuals that were helped throughout our campaigns in 2021.
And one thing I want to add on to that is that, as Andrew just mentioned, you know, in our mission statement, you know, the word marginalized, like to us, that really means a lot. And you know, for myself, I've done so many deliveries in these last 3 years. I've literally been to so many of these organizations that we're helping. So, and I do have to say, like the ones in Taipei, like they're pretty well funded. And so, no, not to say that these kids don't need gifts, but I'm just saying that there's a lot more kids, let's say down south, you know, what Andrew's talking about, where they have a bigger need. And you know, for example, 2 years ago, I got a Giving Tree card, and literally it was like a bike. And I said, oh, okay, a bike. I bought the bike, shipped it over to the kid, and then later on, I get a reply back and some, and this is like literally in one of those remote villages, like in the middle of nowhere, and the kid goes, hey, thank you for the bike. Yeah, I walk to school every day, it takes me 90 minutes, 2 hours. Thanks to your bike, now it takes me like 20 minutes. So, like for me, I was like, oh my gosh, my goosebumps everywhere, when I saw that, because it's like, that one bike, maybe it doesn't mean much to us. I spent like $1,500, $2,000 on that, that's it's just a little something. But to them, that saved the kid like almost an hour and a half every day, and that's one way, just to get to school. So my point is, there is that real need that's here, and maybe we don't know about it. And so we take that very seriously when we say we want to serve the marginalized. And one of the reasons we didn't go for the numbers this year is because we want to make sure to filter out a lot of organizations and to see that, like, oh, okay, you know what, maybe this organization, like they may be already sponsored by another organization for Giving Tree. So let's instead of inflating numbers and trying to be all cool and say we hit 1,000 gives, let's pull back and then find more organizations. And moving forward, this is going to be a continual process every year. We're going to keep filtering the organizations to make sure that we get more and more, of these real marginalized, needs met here in Taiwan.
Absolutely. All right, that comes down to our 2022 focus. So, we thought of an idea because of Don't Lock Down Your Love, right? A lot of the organizations that we work with, even to this day, even though things are getting much better in Taiwan, they're still kind of hesitant on having volunteers come through. And Salt and Soup Kitchen has been such an integral part of our ministries that we felt like we needed to just do something about that. So we decided to, let's do our own thing. Let's create our own thing called Salt Kitchen. So instead of actually starting a restaurant and being there full time, we decided to collaborate with a lot of these cloud kitchens and restaurants. So right now we have signups that should be launched this week, where signups will start again for February, March, and April. So we have some restaurants in line. If you guys know of any partners or restaurant friends that you want to introduce to us, please let us know, because we plan on doing it every month again. Just going out, being able to prepare the food, and actually going and delivering the food to Taipei Main Station or Wanhua areas. So that's our goal for this year. So that's why I included pop-ups as well to different parts of Taipei. It doesn't have to be Taipei Main Station. All right, Salt Footprints and Orphanage. As I mentioned, I like to use those fun marketing terms, but it just means to go to the orphanage to really create an imprint. Because a lot of times, when we go to the orphanage, we're providing a need, right? We're providing maybe some resources or companionship. But then what's most important for a lot of these organizations and orphanages in Taiwan is actually providing learning opportunities and really spread our culture. And what is our culture? Our culture really is to be able to have them, when they go back to whichever environment that they're in, because a lot of these orphanages, they actually have parents. It's just because of abuse or whatever reason that they are put in these shelters, but then they have to still go back to that environment after a few years. And we want to make sure that they still can hold on to that hope. They can hold on to whatever that they learn through some of these opportunities that we presented, that when they're in that environment, they can still remember and be impacted in that way. Like there's so many stories that we can talk about this. If you want to know more about this, please come to us and we'll tell you more. But yeah, this is a key part of this year, what we really want to do. Instead of just showing up, we want to do a lot more and actually have that impact. Last but not least, our volunteers, our community. When we started this thing, we just thought that, hey, if you're interested, there's a group of guys, girls, people who just want to go out and do stuff. Sure, why not? But we didn't really spend too much attention in realizing that there's so much community out there that wants to really build together and do more, as I mentioned earlier. So this is something that we're going to do this year. We're going to have stronger volunteer groups for people who want to volunteer consistently, who want to be a bigger part of SALT. Because it's not just about us. It really isn't. It's about all of you guys. And I want you guys to really, to James and myself and to SALT, it's more of a movement. As I mentioned, it's not about, hey, let's make SALT big. It's, hey, you know what, I can do something too. I want to be a part of it. So no matter where you're at, even if you're not in Taipei, if you want to do something, we encourage you guys to come to us and we can help you start something of your own too if you want to.
Yeah, and I do want to add on to that, like, to be honest with you, like the Don't Lock Down Your Love, like all this stuff that we do, like it's literally just ideas, like none of us, we all have full-time jobs. Like that's just straight up the truth. And we're not able to, obviously focus on SALT like 100% because we gotta make a living too. So a lot of the stuff that we do literally just comes from the community. And so I want to just leave that open to you guys, that in the future, let's say you have any ideas that you guys want to do, feel free to hit us up. We're very open to that. That's all this is building a community and having everyone's input and then coming through and actually executing. And one thing we can guarantee you is that we will execute because that's what we're about. We're not here to sit around and talk about ideas all day. We actually prefer to be out there, passing out bentos, giving out socks and hats, in the winter. So that's what it is.
All right, vision, that's you.
All right. So this year, this is a pretty big year for us. Like we've grown pretty significantly, within the last couple of years. But this year, I feel like it's going to be big because things are now kind of coming back. Getting back in the swing of things. And so our vision for this year, actually for Giving Tree, is having more organizations, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, where they have that kind of need. And we want to definitely, hit that up. And we also want to be, we also became a lot more organized this year because we have all that experience. And we want to take that to the next level. And so, for this upcoming year, we want to cover more organizations. And one of them is actually an organization we have to turn down, unfortunately, this year. But there's an organization out there with 600. 600. That's actually a huge number. So unfortunately, this year we couldn't do it, but next year that's one of our goals is to actually cover that organization. And we're not going to be able to do that, unless we get more help and support. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. And that means more businesses coming on board to be like, all right, James, Andrew, so I'll take 100 here, I'll take 100. And that's kind of how we plan on growing, the Giving Tree, this year. And there's a bunch of other stuff that we want to do, which is right now we're only working with one, SOS, orphanage. We want to be able to grow that. We want to basically replicate this because we've done a pretty significantly good job with SOS. We want to be like, all right, now we can take on another orphanage, another one, and another one. And so that's one area we're looking to expand this year. And orphanages, it's a very, very sensitive space. It's a very sensitive, when you work with these kids, who we allow to bring with us. So that relationship with the orphanage is actually really, really important. So to be able to, have that smooth relationship, a lot of times I gotta tell you, man, we have to literally just show up and have that, build that trust. And we did that with SOS. So we want to replicate that this year. Another one is a middle ministry, which is every year. A lot of you guys don't know this because we haven't done it due to COVID, but we actually do a Christmas party every year for the foreign prisoners here in Taiwan. And we did it, we haven't done it, for 2 years because of COVID? Yeah. So previously we did it for 3 years. And this is basically, they're also the marginalized. Reason because for a lot of the foreign inmates here in Taiwan, when they go to jail, actually a lot of them actually become kind of segregated. It's a form of discrimination. It happens. And so, and the food is not a lot too. So a lot of them, they'll have family that can visit them every week, every month. So they're often left very alone, isolated, can't even have someone they can speak in the same language with. And so one thing, we do is we go in there and we host a big party, bring in all the different foods, like pizzas, burgers, all the ethnic food too for the different ethnicities in there. And so when we do that, I tell you, man, it's literally the party of the year, the best time they had, in the whole year by far. And you would know because when you go there, these prisoners, when they come and they get their food, I'm not even exaggerating, they bring a plate and the food is literally up here. And they're walking around and some tater tots and dropping on the ground. And we want to bring that back this year and to be able to do even more of these events at a more capacity. And so another thing we want to do is, this is kind of one of my personal areas is the elderly. And I feel like the elderly are also very neglected here in Taiwan. And I know that everybody loves to hear, oh, I want to help out kids, orphanages, but it's who's actually looking after the elderly? And some previous experience volunteering, at some of these elderly homes, and I can tell you that there's a big need there where they're loneliness, depression, so that's something that we want to do, but we just don't have the capacity for it. And that's just facts. We can only do so much with the resources we have. And with the soup kitchen, the orphanage, and the Giving Tree, which takes 4 or 5 months to plan. I know you guys come in. The Giving Tree is really fun. It's pretty short, literally a couple of weeks. But for us, it's really a ton of planning kind of going behind that. So these are the things that we want to actually look into expanding, and our long-term vision, for SALT is actually to be able to execute these things.
All right.
Yeah.
So we are looking for. We are looking for. We are looking for to expand our team, as James mentioned, right? Because we are limited in the amount of things that we can do. We all have full-time jobs. So right here, I'm going to list out some of the roles that we actually need. Actually, a lot of these roles that I'm going to list out, we are doing already. It's just that we're spread super thin. So, when I mention each role, it doesn't necessarily represent one individual. It's if you have this interest, if you feel like this is something that you want to take on, you want to try, please reach out to us today after our presentation, and then we can discuss how you guys can be more involved in these particular roles. So first of all, admin, obviously, for operations, for finance, for some of the government programs that we are trying to reach out to, we need strong, like Chinese speakers. We're all, for the most part, ABCs, so it's kind of difficult for us sometimes with all the lingo and all that and the jargon. But we're really trying to figure out all the finance stuff, which I'll go into a little later. We want a professional person to really be able to handle a lot of the finances for us moving forward. All right, creative. As you can see, we are starting to have a little bit more photos and videos and that kind of stuff, but then none of us are actually professional photographers or videographers or graphic designers. So if you guys have that interest, if you guys are well versed in this, please come out and reach out to us. Digital, obviously, as James mentioned, a lot of the stuff that we are doing, it's all through word of mouth, actually it's more digital of mouth, through to people seeing us pop it up on Facebook and whatnot. So we really need to be, if we want to increase our reach, we really need people to actually kind of be behind it to really showcase what we're about. Because marketing is something that I feel like we kind of struggle with sometimes, because it's kind of like, hey, we're going to put a lot of the money that comes in, we need to determine, okay, how much of this goes into marketing, how much of this actually goes to support the people in need. But we realize that there's still there's importance of marketing to be able to spread that cause. So more people can know about this, but then we need more professional help in this regard. All right, PM, someone who can be a project lead for some of the proposals that we are going out to work with a lot of these organizations. Sometimes, it's not as easy as you might think for us to kind of reach out to these organizations and be like, hey, you know what, this is what we're about, come out and help us out. I feel like we actually need a very strong person to be able to create some of these proposals to help us send out that kind of message that we're really trying to convey. And last but not least, PR, someone that can MC and be a spokesperson. I mean, we're all spokespeople of this, but then just to have someone to really be able to hype things up, to be able to copyright, to be able to send out announcements, to let people know about our events. Right now, we're trying to do emails, but a lot of emails I'm writing myself, and then social media is by Bertina, and then it's, again, spread a little thin. So if this is something that would interest you, please reach out to us. Want to add anything?
Yeah, I think we've grown quite a bit in most of these areas. And, I just want to mention one thing about marketing, because, I just want to be very transparent with you guys. It's a dilemma sometimes for us, because we actually want most of the funds that actually come in to go back to the actual community. But, unfortunately and fortunately, we live in a social media heavy community where everybody kind of just sees everything now. So we do have to allocate some resources toward this area, not to self-glorify SALT, but more to increase the exposure so that people can actually know about SALT. And there's a big difference here. And I'll give you an example. Like, a lot of you guys, maybe even sitting here, like I've got so many volunteers that literally come up to me. I'm like, wait, how did you guys find this? And he's like, oh, Facebook, oh, Instagram, oh, Google. And for us, it's like, we didn't do any ads or anything like that. And so if we actually put more ads, that means more people can actually see us and have the opportunity to serve. And that's always been the marketing goal, for SALT. And I know that, sometimes people are like, well, hey man, what about all the budget you're spending for marketing? Why don't you just give it to the kids and do all that? I'm just letting you guys know that we do have to allocate some funds in order to have more of you guys come here and join the programs and to expand SALT so that more of these kids and these marginalized can actually benefit, because more people actually know about it. That means more people can come serve. That also means more organizations can come and donate money to us. And so, it's for the good of the, growth of the organization. And that's the main reason why we have to, do that.
Sure. All right. Digital.
All right.
It's all you.
All right. Okay, this is kind of.
Do you need a break?
So, as you can see, we've actually kind of digitized a lot of things. And so, I'll be honest, like the first time we did SALT, how we do signups is literally just a group chat and goes, who's going this week? And we're like, oh, Albert, oh, Andrew. And then it's like a list of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then someone goes, oh, I can't make it. It's like, oh, then you got to cross them out. It was like super difficult. So fortunately, we've digitized everything, and as you guys have experienced through the Giving Tree and even signing up for stuff, we've kind of done that. And this year, like for our shore view, which is, when we actually go to our actual URL, number 1 was actually the Soup Kitchen sign up. And number 2, subscribe, and number 3 is campaigner. And this means that people that actually click and actually engage with our digital. And as you can see, this year we actually did almost 12,000. So there's a lot of clicks. And we're not really running that many ads. So a lot of it's actually organic. So that means that it's you guys who are clicking on it and then sharing with the other people. And so this is, this is why we have to do the marketing stuff to begin with. And so for our Instagram, for the last, the 90 days average, the reach is around 3,764. Engagement is 468. Engagement means people that interact with your post, IG story, and likes, comments, all those kind of things. And our Facebook for the last year, we're at 1,211, and with the reach and the followers. So this is an area I want to mention is that we actually want to grow more. And for this year, we're going to have a lot more content that's coming out. Go ahead and go to the next one. And this is where this comes in. And so we're actually building, right now, we're building a new website. And this new website is going to have a lot of information, because the last website we did, we literally just hired a dude for like $100 and built that. And one of the reasons we're actually putting some of our budget into a website, I want to mention, is that we got a donation this year from KPMG, and huge company. And so KPMG, hit us up and they go, hey, we want to give you guys money. We love what you're doing. We want to support it. And then they said, here's a piece of advice. For organizations like us, who are real corporations, we wouldn't want to be on your $100 website. So go get that fixed if you actually want to get more funding from organizations like us. So it's like a slap in the face. I was like, well, what do you expect? $100. So that's why we're doing a new website. Another reason is also because, for signups, everything will be a lot more easy. And and trust me when I say this, this new website will be on par with some of the biggest names in industries, because we're putting quite a lot of resources, not just money, but like effort and the team behind it, to have a legitimate website, on par with like the World Visions, like the Charity Robbers, all of that. So we did a lot of research, into that. And one thing we actually want to add on to is actually the e-commerce stuff. And one idea we came up with is that, hey, I've got a lot of friends, like in the US, that literally just hit me up and go, hey, can we send you guys money? Here's $100, here's $200. Well, it's a pain in the butt for all of us to just take the money and redistribute. Why don't we put our stuff on the website? Now imagine a digitized giving tree, where all my friends that want to give me cash, I just go here, go to our e-commerce site, and we'll have a giving tree card up there. You can literally just claim it and take it and go ahead and buy it, and then we'll go ahead and have a team that executes all that stuff for you. So that's one vision that we want to head towards moving forward, because we want to kind of like take in everyone's resources that we can give back to the actual community part. And then our clothing, accessories. So shameless plug, we got this new merch, fresh tees. And another thing we're doing is targeted ads. So that means one of our targets or marketing targets this year is to just let friends of friends know. So one of our marketing campaigns for Facebook is to buy ads that hit up the people that already are part of our demographic and are coming out, and then let their friends know, hey, this is Salt, this is what we do. And then you can go. Another thing is the actual video content. So as you guys can see this year, one of the biggest, I want to say complaint, but one of our biggest weaknesses before was that we did a lot of these events, did a lot of these things, is shooting on cell phone videos, and no real like recap. So a lot of times people that actually do give us money and resources, they go, hey, so how was the event? And we just send them a couple iPhone pictures. So it's kind of like, all right, let's go ahead and improve upon that. And that's actually one of the reasons why we brought on, we actually hired a team started last year to actually film a lot of our major events. And they're really nice to be able to come through. And so recently, a lot of the videos that you guys have seen are a lot more professionally done. And it's because this is an area we prioritize. And it's nice kind of for everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean, imagine if KPMG gave us money and they want to keep giving us money every year to do more events. Well, on their PR side, they're going to need something to make them look good too. And that's actually one of the reasons why we also do the marketing and the PR stuff, for that. And also, it's also for you guys too. So you guys can also see, hey, wow, okay, that event, I can show my mom, I can show my dad. And when they look at it, it's not just a janky, ghetto 30-second rough cut where you just like, whoa, what's up with the color on this? And it actually looks kind of professional. And on top of that, we're also, going to upload a lot of these videos onto our YouTube and to kind of further increase that reach. So that's a huge consistency change this year, where everything actually going to be a lot more consistent. And one of the main reasons also is because we got a main SALT video coming out this year. That means that we're literally filming everything that we're doing so that we can put it collectively into a 60-second video, so that in the future, because I get, this happens so much, someone goes, hey, this is my friend, tell me about SALT. And I gotta stand there and talk for like 30 minutes, like, all right, this is how we started, blah, blah, blah. And wouldn't it be nice if someone goes, hey, so what's this thing I see on Facebook that you've been, that I saw you tag in a picture, you can go, oh, here's a YouTube video. And in 60 seconds, someone can know literally what we do, what we're about, and all the events that we do, so that they can know at the end of the video, hey, this is something that I actually want to, so it's actually to save you guys time as well.
I mean, most of our videos will be 60 seconds, but that main video will be a little longer than 60 seconds. Yeah. Cover everything. Okay. All right. Last 2 slides. Bear with me. Money. Where does the money go? Where does the money come from? I mean, we talked about where it came from, but then some of the total donations that we received in 2021 is 70,000. 700,000. 70万. Yeah. 700,000 NT. I get mixed up all the time. So we separated into 3 main categories of how people can donate. There's the general donations, there's the SALT Kitchen program. Actually, this was actually called the Don't Lock Down Your Love on our website, but we changed it to SALT Kitchen because that's where the SALT Kitchen stemmed from, and that's where a lot of the money actually went into and will be going into. And then just general SALT programs. So what I wanted to point out is that 70% was too general. Like, we receive a lot of love of people just trusting us and allowing us to be able to do what we do. So this is how we spent it this year. We also separate into 3 aspects: the programs, the marketing, and the operations, right? So most of our money, 66% of it, was actually towards the SALT programs. The SALT Kitchen itself was about 155,000, right? The Giving Tree Taiwan, we did about 129,000, and in general, about 12,000. So general would be more like our other pop-ups and other events and campaigns and whatnot. Marketing, because we added some videos and that kind of stuff. So this year we spent about 83,000. And operations is basically having our address, business registration, and some logistics stuff is under operations. So it's so our allocation has been 66%, 18% marketing, and then 15% operations. But for 2022, we have this clear goal of how we want to allocate our funds moving forward. Oops. So goal. Our budget goal this year is 1,500,000, right? Is that
yeah,
right? Okay. 150万. All right. So what we want to do is what we call the 50-30-20 model. Okay. 50% of it will go into our programs. We always want to make sure that that is the key, our main focus. So this year, what we want to allocate is our general programs that we will sprout out that we've been doing already. Our SALT Kitchen, because we're really trying to expand. Right now, we do about 150 to 200 each month. But then there's so many more homeless needs all over Taipei and beyond. So we want to be able to start reaching more and more of this. Salt footprints, as I mentioned earlier, about the orphanage, creating programs, learning opportunities. A lot of these organizations that we're working with to really create this need some funds too. And last but not least, Giving Tree timeline. So, I mean, James mentioned briefly that, you know, we are trying to switch up filter every single year. But in essence, one of our plans and goals with the website is that we want to be able to, instead of just filter, we actually want to include all of Taiwan if possible. That's a very, very big ambition, but then if that's something that we can do, if we can reach overseas and do more, that'd be great. But for this year, we want to start with this target to really reach, especially that 600 in Taiwan.
Yeah, one thing I want to add is a lot of you guys, some of you guys know, some of you guys don't, but we as an organization, of all the core people and that, all the money that comes in, we don't touch anything. So that means none of that, all the money that goes to the actual, you know, program. I just want to make that very clear from the get-go. And that was always one of our goals. And one of the reasons we also didn't want to affiliate with some of the other organizations or be under a certain organization is because we don't want to, we want to have that freedom to be able to, you know, because a lot of times if you're under an organization, then financially you're kind of tied and there's certain restrictions and politics that gets involved in that. We want it to be a drama-free, you know, charity nonprofit here in Taiwan where literally we can control that all the money that comes in literally goes back into the actual community part.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we do fundraisers. A lot of you guys have been to our fundraisers. And a lot of the source of the income that we have is actually from, you know, individuals. A lot of individuals literally say, hey, every month we want to donate, you know, 5,000 NT to you guys. And also corporations, you know, we were, for the Don't Lock Down Your Love, one corporate literally just said, hey, what's your goal? And, you know, and I said, oh, we're aiming for 100,000. They said, here's a check. So, like, that's literally how all the money comes from. And because we are a registered, you know, nonprofit here in Taiwan, we are able to issue tax receipts, which is really important to these corporations. And so actually, you know, a lot of you guys have, you know, been in touch with us and say, hey, I work for Dell. Can we get you guys in for a donation? And literally, like, all the donations we got this year, it's through that. So all the people that actually work at the company show up at our events and get their corporations involved. So if you guys, you know, have those kind of resources too, we would love it if we can get, you know, actually work with, you know, your companies and to get them involved. And when I say involved, I don't just mean money. Like Dell this year, they literally not only gave us money, but Dell actually sent out a group to take over actually Edwin's sister's organization for the Giving Tree. So they bought all the gifts and we went with them to go to Yuchen's, which is the organization's name for the mentally handicapped, to do that. So that's one way how we work with corporations and organizations that you saw earlier to really not only just give us, you know, the financial part, but to actually execute and have them be a part of the programs that we're talking about here.
Sure. Second, operations. So as I mentioned, 50-30, we're trying to hit 50 and 30, but then this year operations will be a little higher because we are really trying to actually hire some people professionally to be able to help us out. Something we haven't done before. As I mentioned, there are actually some board members here and future board members amongst you guys right now. Anyone who's on the board, including James and myself, we are not getting paid a cent, and we will never be paid a cent. But for the team, we want to be fair. We want to bring some more professionalism to really expand. So that's why this year we want to allocate a certain amount of money to be able to have those kind of hires, to really be able to enhance our programs and our teams. All right. And last but not least, marketing. So marketing, I still want to make sure that's still under the 20% goal. So 18% is what we're going to allocate this year. You know, some of the general marketing that we're doing, merchandise, the website that James mentioned, and some of the ads. So this, again, kind of some people see that as something that's a little sensitive, but then I feel like, you know, James and I and the SALT team feel like it's still an important and integral part. So we still need to add in here 50, 30, 20 model, something that we will, every single year we will try to reach and maintain. Again, this is still generalized. Even our last slide, everything was generalized in bullet points. If any of you ever want to actually see the fine prints, the balance sheets and whatnot, it is transparent, open, and it will be on our website in the future. It's just that right now I don't think you guys want to see every single thing on here. But yes, that is all we have for today. Stay safe. Yeah.
this event to kind of be like, a dialogue, like I said. And so for you guys that, I know a lot of you guys have questions or, with that to kind of about organization, what we do, especially kind of if you're newer to joining us and kind of our programs. So we definitely also want to answer any of that. And then we also have, lunch being prepared for you guys. So I wanted to see.
Actually, you want to do a sneak peek of the Giving Tree?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that.
Actually, let's do that.
Small video.
We got a little sneak peek of the Giving Tree, one of the drafts of
This
the
is
video.
actually a demo. Oh.
There we go.
Again, teaser. It'll be a longer video. Thank you guys. Gonna have fun with all of you. All right. Any questions or thoughts before we? Feel free to come to us individually too. But if there's any general questions that you want to toss out that you want to discuss, feel free to let us know now. You guys are good. You guys are
If
shy.
you need to go to the restroom, please do so now.
Just want to say thank you to the team and love the presentation and love what you guys are all about.
Thank
and
you.
it's just a great work you're doing and message. A couple of with the 50-30-20 model, how did you guys sort of come up with that sort of model with sort of some different benchmarking or just the spending that you guys had this past year? And also with the funding going forward, have you got some pre-commitments like say FNG and those corporations sort of ongoing funding? Is that?
That's something that we've been discussing with some corporations. We haven't had that set up before yet. It's been kind of sporadic. But this model that we created was actually just something that from our past experience of the amount that we received was like this. And what James and I believed was that still the majority has to go into the programs. So that's what we're like, at least 50% of it is a must. And then everything else is kind of broken down into, okay, well, the marketing aspect or the actual operations, how we do the operations is something that you just need to do. There's nothing you can, especially if you're going to hire. So it makes sense that that's a little higher. And marketing, again, because a lot of people still kind of are sensitive about that topic, we're like, let's just try to keep it as low as possible. We want to do it to the max, but then just within that thing. And then so it's also when we show people that, hey, this is where the money goes, it's a lot more clear.
One thing I want to add is this is also to do with my own personal expertise because I run a company that's a digital agency here in Taiwan. And my job actually is to help a lot of these Taiwanese brands to become international. And so I can sit out here all day and show you benchmarks and results of how we can do that. And so basically I'm applying a lot of my own skill sets onto that with my expertise. And we're doing it operating at the lowest capacity, given the funds because we don't want to allocate too much into that. But I want to answer, I'm glad you asked the question because one thing, our goal is actually to have certain corporations and kind of that money. Our goal is to actually have a lot of them come in and let's say it's a Dell or KPMG and they say, hey, Salt, we want to give you guys, 300,000 NT a year. And so our goal is actually to have some of these organizations cover our operating and marketing so that all the money that you guys send in goes absolutely 100% into the programs. So right now we do have a lot of these relationships where it's kind of like that. And if you guys know anything about corporations and CSR programs, they kind of want to know if you're legit. So what they'll do is they go, hey, here's a little bit of money. So let's say this year we had some organizations say, hey, we'll give you small amount, 30,000, 50,000, 60,000 NT. And then what they want to see is, what are you going to do with that money? So one of the reasons why we even have videos like the one you just saw is so that in the future, now Dell can go ahead and we'll make a version of the video. It goes, "Thank you, Dell," sponsored by Dell, so that Dell now can put that video on their website, on their own social media, and say, "Hey, we were part of Giving Tree, TW with Salt Collectiv," and that's also for the CSR program. So one of the reasons for marketing is actually for that purpose. And so moving forward, when we do have these, right now we're at the stage where these organizations have given us, and they see the results, they go, "Hey, wow, it's like, dang, you guys are not messing around. You guys are legit, like literally putting the money back into the programs. Okay, now let's sit down at the table and talk about how we can make this a long-term situation where, let's say it's every quarterly, we're going to allocate certain of their CSR program funding to us." So because of the Giving Tree this year and some of these new donations that came in, we are now having those talks. And this is why we want to build more of these connections. Because, like I said, we're transparent. We're really transparent in what we do. We got nobody hired on board. There's no money going to any of us. So it makes it easy for them. We're actually a pretty easy sell for most of these corporations. It's just that initial stage of, can we really trust you guys? You guys seem like you're trustable, but then you got a $100 website, so we don't know where the money's going. So, and that's also why we're doing the marketing with the videos and everything, is to have proof and to show people that we're not taking this money, that the money actually is literally going to the people that need it. Yeah.
So if you're wanting to get involved in the background,
Yes.
And of course signing up to volunteer, but you guys have mentioned, like if you had an idea, you wanted to do something with a group of people, you could maybe help put that into action.
Yep.
What's the best way to contact you to do that?
I would.
Through email, through your social
I mean,
media?
we're here today, so.
Oh, I know. I don't have an idea off the top of my head.
But yes.
About the people that I'm with.
So usually, like, to be honest, even social media, just messaging us through Instagram.
Okay.
Like, so Bertina is, a community person,
Yes.
so.
I have Bertina on my mind.
Yes.
She hears me.
So you got the direct line. And so what we do is we have our core team that you guys saw. We basically have monthly meetings every month. And so we will actually meet up and go through all the agenda. And this is how Giving Tree was planned. Like every month we meet up, whether it's online or in person. And then we talk about all these specifics. Same thing with the actual the ministries that we do. So each person, like Edwin is actually in charge of the car wash. And Sandy's in charge of the soup kitchen, a lot of the liaisoning in the past. And Lala is, for the orphanage part. So we basically have a PM for each kind of ministry that we do. And this is why we also need more PMs, because right now, like if we want to do the elderly program, we ain't got nobody that can fill that role. And as much as like people want to, hey, let's do this and let's do that, we're maxed out. Let's be very honest, we're maxed out already. So if we want to do more, we need more resources to come in, whether it's hiring an operations person. That's one of our goals this year, is to have someone like part-time, like half-time, full-time, to actually come in and to be able to do the reach, the outreach to other organizations. Because literally we had to scrap by these last couple of years, everyone pulling in their own resources. He hits up people, I hit people up and say, hey, all right, what other orphanages are there? Hey, what other mentally handicapped organizations out there? And then we're just pulling together our own resources. And that's not enough. We actually need more than that.
So, because these things,
yeah.
those aren't my gifts. I have other gifts that are out there. I don't know how to do that stuff. But I would love to be part of like some of the teams.
Yeah.
There, so we can just communicate through those.
Yep.
Absolutely. So what we're gonna do actually is, beyond these roles that we're gonna actually post on our social media and whatnot, is that we're also gonna create, like as I mentioned, a volunteer system. So if you want to be involved in other ways, there will be those opportunities out. And we actually receive a lot of people that just message us and be like, I want to volunteer. And that's great, but a lot of you guys have volunteered before. So you guys can be more specific on knowing what kind of gifts, as you mentioned, that you want to be able to showcase. So message us, be like, hey, you know what, I'm good at this is what I want to do. And then we would get in touch with you. And then if, let's say, some of these things, maybe a portfolio, some other things, we can just talk and set up a meeting, and then we can move forward from there. It'll be something.
And that's why we also have so many different, things we do. It's because we know that for everybody, it may be something different. For you, let's say it's the orphan. That's what you want to do. For him, it's the soup kitchen. And so why we have all these things is that everybody can kind of try everything out, try the buffet, and then see what you really like, and then go ahead and say, hey, you know what, I want to commit more to helping Edwin, you know, with the car wash, because that's, you know, what I feel I want to be more part of. So that's kind of like how we plan on, you know, getting people more involved in the future, is the overall planning and then the actual ministries, the things that we do on a regular basis, and to kind of commit more to whether it's helping organizing or just being more involved, because we definitely need that. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does, great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I mean, on that note, I feel like we have the buffet back there. You mentioned buffet. So I feel like, again, we're going to be here. We have a lot of time to mingle and talk. So if you want to talk to us individually, please, this is a great time to do so. But then even if you don't get a chance to talk to us and you have some ideas moving forward, please reach out to us. Sometimes if you reach out to us individually, like you know, we might not respond as quickly. So I recommend email or the actual account. You know what I'm saying? And then reach out to that, and then we'll get back. We have people to get back to you as soon as possible. I'm kind of bad on social media myself, so if I don't answer, please don't get offended. But yeah.
But thank you guys for coming. Let's keep this conversation going, and then enjoy the lunch.
Yeah, thank you guys.